Infections picked up in hospitals cost the NHS hundreds of millions of pounds a year at the very least. 1 in every 16 people treated by the NHS picks up an infection of some sort as a result of the procedure. In England alone, that's around, it's amazing, 300,000 people a year. And in many cases, the bug they get can be fatal. Well, today a new report released by Public Health England shows a link between large quantities of antibiotics being prescribed and the growth of bacteria which are resistant to them. With a 6% increase in the number of antibiotics prescribed in the past few years, our ability to fight these hospital infections in the future is compromised. So what do? We're going to meet Mr. Michael Oko now. He's a surgeon who works in a hospital in Lincolnshire, and he thinks the answer. He's invested £10,000 of his own money to turn his corner of the hospital into copper. From the handrails to the taps, the door handles to the light switches, to the plug sockets, to the bed frame, even the tray for food, Mr. Oko has paid to have every surface covered in that rust-coloured, green-tinged metal copper, and he would like the rest of his hospital and every hospital in the UK to follow suit. Infectious bugs don't linger on copper surfaces. That is the reason. They do on stainless steel. So in theory, a copper hospital would be almost sterile. Maybe copper could even be used in the fight against Ebola. There's a picture of Mr. Oko's copperised hospital room on the Radio 2 Facebook page and on Twitter if you would like to see it. So is this a good idea? Do call, do email, vine@bbc.co.uk, and we say, welcome to Michael Oko. Good to see you.
Good afternoon.
And you're an ear, nose and throat surgeon?
Yes.
You've brought in a box full of things. Is this relevant to is that copper in there?
Yeah, I was asked to bring in some samples, so I brought in a light switch, a door rail.
Well, bring them out. Bring them on the desk, yeah. The more noise, the better. We love noise here.
Okay.
Okay. That's a very silent door handle.
Yeah, well,
that's not copper, though, is it?
It is. It's just it's treated in such a way to look. Because copper can be unsightly, or people may not like that.
Yes, it is rusty looking, isn't it?
Well, it's not really, but it can change over time. But the thing is, perception is obviously very important. And what you want to do is have something that's aesthetically pleasant, but also does the job.
So you've got the door handle, which looks like stainless steel, but isn't. You're now taking something out of bubble wrap. Or is the bubble wrap made of copper?
No, not at all.
This is getting exciting. I like the way you've wrapped them all up for us.
No, these are pre-wrapped for me. So. Here's a light switch.
I've got to guess what it is. Oh, yeah. It's the light switch.
Yeah, it's a standard light switch.
May I hold it?
Yeah, please do.
All right. So I'm holding a light switch here. It does look like normal metal. I can almost see my reflection in it. And it's just one of those on-off. And this is made of copper, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So if I had... Let's not start with Ebola, because it's getting into every blooming item now. If I had MRSA... I would be shedding virus, correct?
Yeah.
But when my virus went onto the switch, what would happen to it?
Well, there's a triple action kill from copper surfaces. Within 10 minutes, you will find that the cell wall of the bacteria tends to be destroyed. Then it strangles the respiratory enzymes, which allows it to breathe. Then it blows up its DNA, so it can't get resistance, which seems like, very, very good. And when I came across it, I thought, why aren't we using this? It just seems to be...
It's incredible. You can analyse all that with a microscope, can you, or something?
Well, actually, if you look at the work of Professor Bill Keevil, there's a beautiful video on YouTube where he actually has a time-lapse photography over 10 minutes, and he puts X millions worth of bacteria on one, and he has his fluorescent dye on it. And he puts it on stainless steel and copper and does time-lapse photography over 10 minutes, and actually you can just visually see them die, which is actually quite an elegant demonstration of actually it working. And it's such a good idea, and it's relatively cheap compared to what we're looking at here. And we know that, for example, 80% of infections are spread by hand, and we know hand washing is notoriously poor. And this is not to replace good hygiene. It's to augment it in between clean cycles. Mm-hmm. For example, if you sneeze on a rail that's made of copper, reasonably within 10 minutes that will be dealt with.
How is the copper killing the virus?
We're not entirely sure, but we think it's an ion contact there has to be direct contact between the copper itself and the virus or the bacteria. So there has been some experiments which show that actually if you have even a 1 micron layer blocking the copper activity, it prevents that action. So we think actually it's entering through the cell walls, and that's where it does its damage.
And why doesn't stainless steel do that?
It just has a different ionic property. We see similar kind of properties with silver. We've known about silver and its ability, but silver's less effective in dry environments, while copper will work in it's a lot cheaper, but will work in a wet and dry environment.
And what else have you got in your box there?
Well, there's some other innovators. There's a young 18-year-old girl called McCleary, and she's done a brilliant job where she's actually taken this idea one step further and managed to get somebody to put copper ions in nylon.
Oh, I see. You're holding a towel. I wonder what that was for.
There you go.
So, this is it feels like silk. It's a very smooth towel. It's brown. It's the size of 3 handkerchiefs put together. And you're now going to tell me it's made of metal, are you?
No, it has copper ions infused into the actual nylon itself.
So I'm wiping my hands, and that's going to kill everything.
Oh, no, you have to be kind of sensible about things. You know, if you think about your kitchen, for example.
Yeah.
Your tea towel.
Yeah. Oh, I always wonder what's on that.
Well, I'm sure it'd be interesting to find out.
I can't face it.
Yeah, but we have to think of a more logical way of dealing with infections rather than just thinking about antibiotics.
So this, I must tweet a picture of this, but it's just a very inoffensive-looking towel. If I were to have this in my kitchen, Michael, instead of the germ-infested rag that I've had for 5 years, do you think I'd get fewer colds? Would I get ill less often?
What I can tell you objectively is Professor Keeble's team have tested this, and their view is that it does have properties, and he's done a report on it, and there's lovely illustrations of it. I think we have to be sensible where we say, well, okay, if we can use things that occur in nature that are very efficient at dealing with organisms, maybe we will have less. But you see, the thing is, there's a whole process of research that needs to be done, and there has to be good controlled clinical trials to actually demonstrate the evidence behind this, and then we need to proceed with caution.
And how much did it cost you to rebuild your room in the hospital?
A rebuild from every touch surface. We did mainly 10 touch surfaces. There's common things that people touch, like the handrails, the toilet handles, the door rails, the lights, which is the tabletop surface for the bed, and the handrails. That's about £10,000.
And you pay for that yourself?
Yeah, well, I think sometimes you just need to motivate people to do something.
So people come and they say, this is Michael's room and this is what he's done, and so far as you know it's working, I guess it's very hard to find out.
No, there are ways of finding out. There's something called ATP testing. With ATP testing, what it does is it looks at organic material and bacteria on the surface. And before we put the room in, what we did is we tested 10 surfaces, then installed the copper room, and before, the average count was about 30 before the installation, and then it dropped to 3.7 within 24 hours, which is it's just a matter of actually, look, if you think about it, if you get less organic material, less bacteria, you're less likely to get an infection.
Okay, we have another guest. Angela Vesey is listening to this, the director of the UK Copper Development Association. We don't know how it works, but you think it does, Angela?
Hello, Jeremy, and hello, Michael.
Hi.
Yes,
Hi.
There is a wealth of evidence, published evidence from clinical trials around the world that have shown that if you put copper surfaces into hospitals, they actually have 80 to 90% less bacteria on them than standard surfaces like aluminium, plastic, or stainless steel. And in fact, we've gone further than that, and studies have shown that you actually get up to more than 50% fewer infections in an ICU ward that has copper surfaces installed.
And what do you love about copper?
What do I love about copper?
Yeah.
Wow, copper is just the most amazing metal. It can form alloys, and there are more than 400 different materials. You were talking about rust-coloured copper. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Copper is bright and red. It can be golden. It can be bronze. Copper's essential for our lives. We need it in our diets every day. We need it to bring us power, electricity, and now we're seeing it can actually help save lives.
And people who wear copper bracelets, were they on the right track the whole time?
Well, I think the evidence is a bit mixed on that, but I know people who wear them swear by them.
Thank you very much. So, that is Angela Vesey of the UK Copper Development Association. This is just a fascinating story. Mr. Michael Oakott, consultant ear, nose and throat surgeon, hospitals in Lincolnshire. The room is paid for himself. I'll take a photo of that special towel and tweet it, and you can just have a look and see how normal it looks. Thank you, Michael, very much.